I haven't got time to mark this motherfucker. Here we go again. We can't hear anybody. Nobody can talk to anybody.
You guessed it, Pressure Points with your two favorite hosts. I'm D, and this is my smooth peanut butter machine, AJ. We're coming at you at Season 6, Episode 7, Death at the Mountaintop. AJ's going to be talking about one of our favorite Christian hymns, so find us on Instagram and not Twitter at PointSoPressure. Let's get to it.
Well, turn the fucking thing off, you dumbass.
Wow, that
That got really loud at the end there.
that was
Sorry.
weird.
Yeah, I'm just going to click that down.
Nah, that's
two.
fine. But you know
Welcome
what?
back.
How did you know? How did you know it was about a hymn?
Because I sang it.
I know that was for the audience.
There will be a performance at some point.
There better
in
not
this
be.
episode.
When you figure out what I'm actually
as
talking
As soon
about.
as you say Mountaintop, I'm going to sing it.
Okay, we'll see then.
How was your week?
Busy. Past maternal newborn, so that's good. Yeah, got a pretty
Congratulations.
good grade. I'm excited to see.
Oh, I thought you were
Everybody
saying
else
you
got?
passed. I was like, what the fuck?
I passed it.
I misunderstood.
I passed the class.
I thought you were saying you delivered a baby, and I was like, my brain was like, when the fuck? What?
I passed it like a kidney stone
Yeah.
out my
I
urethra.
was a little lost.
Yeah.
Okay.
Congrats. I just finished writing like an 8-page paper.
Congrats. How did it go? Good? Everything you
It
dreamed
went.
of?
I gotta make sure I turned it in. But
You got like, what, 3.5 hours left? Midnight?
yeah, something like that.
You good.
Yeah, and got to do a little bit more homework, but nothing bad. Hasn't been terrible.
Good. Hell yeah.
Yeah, how's your week been?
It's just so good.
Yeah?
It was just so fucking good. you know?
Yeah.
It was so fucking good.
I know we don't talk at all between episodes, so I have no idea what was going on with your week.
Yeah, no, everything was fine. Everything went really fucking well on Thursday night. Everything was fucking great.
Specifically on Thursday night, yeah.
Yeah, one of my fucking hard drives, well, SSDs, failed on my laptop, and I had basically like everything on there, every fucking thing on there, and it took a shit, and I was like, you know what, I'll just like clear it and then maybe go to like a backup. And I pulled it up, and the moment I made the decision, after working on it for like 6 hours the day before, like 5 hours the next day, just doing all of these fucking stupid command prompts and shit, I was like, okay, I'm going to reset it, and then I'll pull it from the backup. And I start the computer, which it would take like an hour to start up, because it would be like, oh, we got to repair.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, thanks. So it starts up. I go in, and I was like, all right. I get everything ready to restart it, and then it just fucking blue screens and then black screens on me. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? So it was my backup drive. It wasn't my local disk drive, thank God. But,
yeah, but still.
So I was like, okay. I do like a power down, pull it back up, nothing. I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
Oof.
So I pop it open for like the 17th fucking time, remove it, start it up, all is well, except my D drive isn't there. And I was like, fuck this stupid drive. So I uninstalled it. And
Your D drive?
Yeah,
Ah!
my D drive. And then I had to, like, it had corrupted just a shit ton of other files in the local disk, so I had to fully reset. So I have a brand new /used laptop.
Nice.
So yeah, I had to set everything back up. I lost like all of everything.
Everything, yeah.
I lost literally everything. So
it's fine.
It's fucking cool. It's all good. I'll be over it by the end of this episode. No, I won't. I'm still bitter about it, but I just got the new one in the mail, which was on sale.
That's good.
Like,
that's really
it
good.
It wasn't a situation where I was like, oh, I got to pay full price for a new fucking drive, new SSD, but here we are.
Here we are.
It's been a rough pre-weekend.
Pre-weekend.
So, yeah. I'm just glad it's fucking taken care of and that it didn't brick my PC and then I
Yeah,
had
that's
to,
good at
like,
least.
start from scratch because I don't
That
have the
would
money
suck.
to buy a new one.
That would really suck.
Thursday night was a rough one.
I bet.
My girlfriend was like, "Do you want to play anything with AJ and wife?" And I was like, "No." I was like, "I fucking can't." I couldn't even open applications on my local.
Wow,
that's why I had to
sucks.
fucking reset everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So here we are. We're fucking here.
Here we are.
Yeah. Now I'm pissed off about
Okay,
it again.
yeah.
Great.
It's okay.
Great.
I need you to be pissed off
Fucking
about this
show is
episode.
ruined.
No,
I gotta
no.
sing. I gotta sing to feel better.
No, not yet. That happens in like the last quarter that I actually mentioned it. Okay. Today, I'm going to be talking about somebody I bet 99% of the audience, including you, have never heard of before.
Try me.
Martin Luther King Jr.
And trust me. Never heard of him.
I know. The American, education system nowadays sucks. When I was in school, we had like a whole month.
When I was your age, we had
Yeah. But it was good. I feel like something that I actually did retain well from elementary school was the general story of the civil rights movement. So I'm not going to go into the whole civil rights movement much.
Oh, wow. What the fuck?
Okay?
Not cool.
Because I feel like a lot of people know about it. If you don't, it's okay. I'll
feel
give you
like-
the basics.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was like, a lot of people know about it, but we do have an international audience.
Yeah,
so you should
exactly.
at least
That's why I'm doing
discuss
the
it a little.
basics. Yeah. So he was born January 15th in 1929. He died April 4th, 1968.
The end. That's your basics.
Done.
Next.
Nah, he was a Baptist minister. He was a civil rights activist leader. He based a lot of his, beliefs, I guess, a lot of his, the way he
Theology.
protested.
His theology.
and his methods
Ideology.
on not only, basic Bible shit, but also Gandhi. Ugh. That's definitely picked up there. But he based a lot of his shit on Gandhi. His big thing was nonviolence while creating civil disobedience, which is awesome. So they do
which is you.
anti-segregation sit-ins, but when they started to get the shit kicked out of them by the cops, they wouldn't kick back. They would just sit there and take it, and then people would take pictures, and there's no way you can frame that image
It's like the
as them
picture
as the
of
villain.
The cops spraying the guys with, like, the protesters.
spraying
with
like the
fucking
12-year-old
fire hose.
girl with the mace. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, with like the from the civil rights movement.
Oh
there's
yeah,
that
it
picture where
was
they
the children
have
of Birmingham,
the
Alabama.
Full fucking. I mean, and this is. I don't even know how much pressure it was back then.
Oh God, it's a lot.
But yeah, a fire hose, full pressure to just.
And kids
spraying
just holding
protesters.
hands.
It's like literally tumbling people down the street.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there were a lot of like, he went face to face against the Klan. There was a lot going on in this time period. Like you had a lot of other groups who were like, no, let's be violent. Like they deserve it after this long. I'm not saying I disagree, but King certainly did.
And our sponsor for this show actually has a really good movie based on that. If you can find Remember the Titans starring Denzel Washington, written and directed by a Disney conglomerate. By
Is
all
that our
means,
sponsor?
Check it out. Yeah, we've been sponsored by Disney for
Oh yeah,
years.
yeah. We are sponsored by Disney. Sorry, I forgot. Because we have so much of that Disney money.
Yeah, and We Are the Titans is a very accurate depiction of the struggles.
I've never
in-
seen it. The joke you're
in
making
the
is not
US.
landing on me. I'm sorry.
I mean, they go over race, but it was for like football.
Oh,
It's
Jesus
a football black and white movie.
Christ. Wonderful.
Yeah, that appealed to kids. So I mean, it helped
All
teach
right,
it a little
hey,
bit.
You know
but
what? It's something. It's
No.
something. So that was a big thing. Like he was also connected to a lot of not only church organizations but just civil rights activist movements in general. Like the Black Panthers or Malcolm X, and all those are just the big ones, naming off the top of my head. And God, just the whole nonviolence with civil disobedience. I love that shit because it's chaos.
Dick hard.
It's chaos without direct harm. You basically outline how dumb people are, and then when they react, you make them look more dumb. Like it works. I mean, it worked.
And catch them in their own fallacies.
Oh yeah, and he also did a lot of stuff with like workers' unions. He did a lot of stuff with indigenous people. He very much branched out. It wasn't just the civil rights movement that he was working for. You okay there? Just touching the microphone. All right, so next, I'm just gonna go into our best friend, guy who comes up all the time on this show because he's such a good guy, J. Edgar Hoover.
Oh shit.
I mean, what's the difference?
Yeah, same guy. One's in the FBI, and
Yeah.
the other pretty much. Fuck him. Fuck them both.
Yeah. So J. Edgar Hoover, leader of the FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation, international audience. We got to outline. I have no idea if other people know that stuff, but he saw King as a radical. No way. And made him the target of a counterintelligence program in 1963.
He didn't just see him as radical because he was over the civil rights movement. He saw him as a problem because of his race.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, if the thing that's always kind of stuck out to me is I feel like you wouldn't have had so much police involvement with Martin Luther King Jr. if he had been white. They would have been angry about it, but they wouldn't have done what they did.
Oh, just wait. The shit that they did
it was fucked.
Is crazy. So we've talked about COINTELPRO before, the counterintelligence program from the FBI, because, my grandfather was an agent in COINTELPRO.
Wow, dox yourself. What the fuck?
Because it's the only grandfather who's been in there. No, but he doesn't talk about it a lot. He just said that he did a lot of investigations when police or government agents were killed by groups like the Black Panthers or the Communist Party, or they didn't really kill anybody, but you know what I mean. Basically, It was when an agent or a cop died and it was motivated by one of these groups, he would investigate it.
Boo.
Yeah. He then came home and became a cop.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And he recants a lot of stories at family parties about how he busted that guy who's on marijuana, but he basically explained that the guy was going through alcohol withdrawals, but because they found marijuana, it was the marijuana that causes the withdrawals, so therefore marijuana is addictive, and everybody in the news and research is wrong.
I met him one time, and by the time he left, I had plenty of grand information about cops in the 70s, 80s.
Well, he was an agent in the 70s.
Oh, whenever he was a cop, that's
later.
what he had told me about, and I was like, wow, yeah.
80s and 90s.
So
he had the mustache. He still has the mustache.
Yeah, he looks like an old cop.
Yeah,
like
he's got the ankle holster.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Oh yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
He's like, look at my little pea shooter. It's like, well, fuck off.
Nice.
Yeah, go to hell.
No, I love him. So,
great guy now that he's not an officer. I guess.
He really has come a long way, even just since I've been alive. He's really.
It's because you're alive.
Well, it turns out having a family member.
A long way.
Well, yeah. No, it turns out having a family member who came out as gay really changed his mind.
Congratulations for coming out.
Oh yeah, smooth. And people can change. Doesn't really mean that they know anything about weed or drugs, but the idea in most of COINTELPRO was gather dirt on different groups and use it to blackmail them.
Jesus.
And that's just what J. Edgar Hoover did with the FBI. That's why he stayed. I think he was the head of the FBI for like 37 years. He founded it. Like he was one of the founding members, and then he stayed as the leader for so long because his big thing was digging up dirt on presidents, and then whenever they tried to come down on him through Congress, he would blackmail the congressmen, blackmail the president. Like, he had dirt on everybody.
He was just a federal mean girl.
Yeah. Yeah. And that really makes sense. He really liked wearing dresses.
A federal racist mean girl.
So the official reason for COINTELPRO was he said, Anybody who has any kind of views that government subsidies or systems should support those in the lower class must be communist.
Oh.
So
Yeah, we are.
we have to find a communist connection between all these different groups, especially King. We got to figure out, because he has to be a communist, right? Because he's advocating for
If you don't
for
love
workers'
America,
rights.
yeah, if you don't love America.
Oh, he never said he didn't love America.
Well, if you don't love the exact state
Yeah.
that America is in at this point, you're a fucking commie. So,
there you go.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like that. That was
Easy link. Boom.
the exact.
I just did your fucking
perfect.
job, Jay.
You just did my entire episode.
The end.
So, the unofficial goal, obviously, find dirt, make them, like, basically take away their power as revolutionists. Essentially, they were also targeting the Nation of Islam, the Black Panther Party, Malcolm X, all that shit. And despite Martin Luther King Jr. winning a Nobel Peace Prize, speaking out against the Vietnam War, speaking out against poverty, speaking out against the fallacies of communism, the FBI sat down and was like, this guy's a bad guy.
Yeah, of course.
He's bad because he doesn't want people to die in a useless war.
Yeah, seriously.
And he doesn't want poor people to just die for no reason.
This is a bad guy because he wants to be equal.
Yeah, that
fucking
seriously,
God,
isn't that
dude.
completely ridiculous?
Yeah.
So we're going to jump ahead to the assassination. Martin Luther King Jr. was
What the
assassinated.
fuck do you mean you want rights? Like, come
Yeah.
on, man.
1968, just so you know, COINTELPRO started in 1963. So this is the fifth year.
5 fucking years of this.
He was traveling around to begin the Poor People's Campaign, it was called, where the goal was occupy Washington, D.C., try to get some workers' rights.
Okay.
Totally commendable goal. March 29th, 1968, he was in Memphis, Tennessee, kind of getting ready for all that. He was specifically in Memphis because there were a bunch of sanitary public works employees who were striking.
Okay.
The majority of them were black. And they were striking because when it was a bad weather day, and the sanitation workers were sent home, the white employees would get paid for the day, the black employees would get paid for about 2 hours.
Jesus Christ.
So they were striking. They had been striking for since the 12th. So 12th to the 29th. So a good amount of time. So he was there to support them.
Almost 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
That's a long time to not get paid. April 3rd comes around. King goes to a rally at, I use speech to text on this, and it says Amy Sonic Temple. It's a Masonic temple. I want a T-shirt that says Amy Sonic Temple, and it's got a picture of Sonic.
No, and then it's just got a picture of a Butterfinger blast.
Yeah, exactly. That's great. And so he goes to a Masonic temple, and he gives a speech that's known as the Mountaintop speech. And I've got a little quote here, because...
Oh, and I have a song to sing.
Yeah, you sing it behind when I'm reading the speech. And he says, and then I got to Memphis, and some began to say the threats, or talk about the threats that were out. What would happen to me from some of our sick white brothers? Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead, but it doesn't matter with me now, because I've been to the mountaintop, and I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. Sorry, there's a weird glitch happening on my screen. We've got some difficult days ahead. Oh, did I do that? Yeah. Longevity has its place, but I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will, and He's allowed me to go up to the mountain, and I've looked over, and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know that tonight, that we as a people will get to the promised land. I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. And then he goes on to talk about God a bit.
Jesus.
So he's basically like,
fucking rough. Like,
if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. At least I've seen it. At least I've seen that what I'm doing. My interpretation, of course, is I've seen the progress that we've made. I've seen that we can get there. Yeah. So if one of these threats ends up being true, his flight to this event was delayed because someone threatened to bomb the plane, and that was before TSA.
Yeah, and I mean, also, it's another way to take it is that, like, he will get you there or he will die trying. Whether, like, that line, like, whether I'm here or not, it's just like, fuck.
Yeah, strong. This dude, I love this dude's speeches. They are very powerful. He was very eloquent. And, you know, it was very interesting that he decided to give that speech that day, because the next day he was at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis. Him and his crew stayed in room 306. He was out on the balcony on the second story, and at 6:01 p.m., James Earl Ray shot King on the balcony. He went down. His final words were to the musician who was in kind of his crew, who was going to be playing at an event that night, and he requested that he plays the song "Take My Hand, Precious Lord," and to play it real pretty. Those were his last words.
Damn.
He was sent into emergency chest surgery. He died on the table. Basically, the bullet went in through his cheek, bounced off his vertebrae, and bounced down into his chest.
Oh, damn! I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was brutal. He had spent 13 years of his very young. He was young.
Yeah,
very young life.
How old was he?
Oh God, was he 39?
I was gonna say I thought he was in his 30s.
He's in his 30s. So let's talk about James Earl Ray, or as my notes say, James Early Ray.
Okay.
He was seen fleeing from across the street of the motel after he shot King, but we'll get into how he was caught and everything too. James Earl Ray was basically a career criminal. In 1949, he went away for burglary, armed robbery in 1952, mail fraud in 1955, armed robbery again in 1959. He was then sentenced for 20 years in prison because he just had so many offenses. But he escaped in 1967 by hiding in a bread truck. At the time, the prison that he was in, they had a bakery, and they would sell the baked goods to local companies. So he just stayed in the bread truck, and they drove him out.
Shawshank Redemption shit.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And he dug an escape tunnel with a spoon. So he escaped prison, and he started moving all through the U.S., and he got into Canada. And then he moved to Mexico, where he tried to become a porn director.
Dude went north and was like, I'm going south.
Yep, exactly. Oh, God. So he used a catalog, like a Sears catalog, to get a bunch of film equipment, and then he started hiring the sex workers in Mexico to star in his pornos. Well, it turns out filming poor Mexican sex workers wasn't that successful. Not a huge audience.
Unless you're Andrew Tate.
Well, yeah, unless you're Andrew
Piece
Tate.
of shit.
This was proto-Andrew Tate. And then he did the cardinal sin, and he fell in love with a prostitute.
Oh, he's in love with a hooker.
Yep.
T-Pain
she
sang
dumped
it
him.
best.
Yep. She dumped
Not
him,
T-Pain.
and he was like, oh, this isn't working. And then he left Mexico in November of 1967.
To where?
L.A.
Where did he go?
He went to L.A. because there was an up-and-coming politician who he aligned with named George Wallace. And he joined the campaign, and basically the platform was entirely anti-civil rights movement segregation.
Oh.
Segregation should be like apartheid.
Yeah.
Apartheid level segregation. Apartheid.
Yeah,
I know,
there
but
you
I
go.
still say it.
Oh, I thought you were debating which one it
No,
was.
I
It's like we were lectured on this.
yes,
AJ.
apartheid. But so he's working for this presidential campaign, still undergoing a fake name because he's still wanted. I miss the days where you could go across multiple federal borders despite being a prison escapee. I miss those days.
Or the days you can,
Get
sneak
on
a
an airplane
fucking
without
bomb onto a plane.
Get onto an airplane without being metal detected.
Totally off topic. Did you hear about the fucking American people in I think it was like Israel that were like
No.
they found an old piece of World War II like basically a bomb that never went off. And
Okay.
I think it was Israel. I don't remember. But they found it. We're like, oh, cool. Let's take this back home. Put it on their fucking bag.
Oh my God.
And then at the airport, it was fucking flagged. And they were like,
no shit, it
everybody
was
get
flagged.
the fuck out of here.
Yeah, that's an unexploded ordinance is so dangerous.
There's a video of
it can still go off.
people just fucking scrambling to get out of the building.
Now get the fuck out of there.
Imagine being that fucking stupid.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Only in America.
Yeah.
Made in America, baby.
Only Americans. So he was also starting to plan this move to go to Rhodesia, which is Zimbabwe now. Because at the time, there was a white minority regime that was extremely racist. You're seeing the common themes with this guy. He really liked white people.
Yeah. No, I thought George Wallace was definitely not white.
Yeah, right? George Wallace. So it's not really known why, but he left L.A. on March 18th. He drove to Atlanta. He got there March 24th.
He drove to Atlanta from L.A.?
Yeah.
Fuck, man.
Homeboy had some mental health issues, if you didn't notice.
Yo, that's the road trip we should take.
Dude, I would do it.
Except instead of
Can we do it in 6 days?
Instead of making it quick, we should just go north and hit everything that doesn't suck.
No, we should do a James Earl Ray road trip where we go to everywhere he went.
That. We should not.
Should
call
we
it
call
the
it
James
the James Earl Ray road trip?
We should not do that.
We'll publicize it.
Never mind.
Never mind.
Let's
Oh,
not
never
do
mind.
that.
Let's not do that. So he left LA, got
only
to
only
Atlanta.
if we do it and then we advertise ourselves fully communist. Just to really fucking
just to really
stick
confuse
it to J.
people.
Edgar Hoover.
Yeah, this is the anti-J. Edgar Hoover James Earl Ray tour. So that's see, now we're cooking.
That's some serious troll.
Hey, with you supporting us on Patreon, we can take this trip. So he bought a map of the city and started circling residences and churches where Martin Luther King frequented.
Oh, fuck you.
Not entire so his big thing was he loved reading newspapers. He was really good at gathering data from newspapers, so whenever they said, "Oh, Martin Luther King Jr. is staying at this hotel or performing a speech at this church," he would circle it.
Ugh.
And he'd started gathering data. So on March 30th, he'd been in Atlanta for 6 days. He bought a hunting rifle. It was a 30-06. He bought a pack of ammo, 20 rounds, a scope, and then he drove to Memphis because it was in the news that Martin Luther King Jr.'s plane was delayed because of a bombing threat on his way to Memphis, Tennessee. In Memphis, Tennessee,
God.
he was very well known to always stay at the Lorraine Motel, and he always stayed in room 306. That's just where they stayed.
Really?
They did a lot of shit in Memphis, Tennessee, just in Tennessee in general.
But
that was where they
the
stayed. That
go-to
was their
spot.
base.
Okay. I mean, it makes sense. It's like, obviously back then you can't just fucking text somebody and be like, "Hey, changing the room number to
Yeah.
like
Well, not only that, but
429." It's
not really on your mind.
Yeah.
Like now, I'm paranoid as hell.
Oh, yeah.
I would never publicize where I'm staying because I know there are crazy people
And if
out there.
if I were traveling, I would not stay in the same hotel room twice.
Yeah. Seriously.
But it was a different
It's a
time,
totally
man.
different time,
This was
yeah.
like literally 60 years ago.
Yeah. This is a long ass time ago. Yeah, pretty much. So he checked in Memphis to a boarding room, got a room, and sat down. Let's see. Did I say he got there? Yeah, on March 30th, he bought it. He stayed there for a couple of days, shot Martin Luther King Jr., scrambled out of that building and that room, ditched a package that had the rifle and the binoculars on it, like on the same block, and it was covered in his fingerprints, which the FBI found.
You mean to tell me that this guy wasn't too bright?
Yeah. Weird. It was also very interesting that he didn't die on the spot because there was a policeman who ran over from across the street and performed first aid on him.
On Martin Luther?
On Martin Luther King Jr.,
Martin
yeah.
Luther King Jr.
No, you can say any of them. You can say King, you can say Martin Luther. We know who we're talking about on this
That's
episode.
fair. I just get like,
I
I say
know.
Martin Luther, and I'm like, wait, no,
No, not the Protestant.
No, not him.
But so it turns out the FBI wanted to keep an eye on, because they already were. They wanted to keep a closer eye on him. So
Yeah, 'cause they
across the
hired him.
street in the fire department, No, on King. On the fire department across the
I was
street,
saying
they put a bunch of cops to keep an eye on him.
Yeah.
And that ended up
Benefiting it.
extending his life a little bit. Obviously, he still died, but I just thought that was interesting that he was also just under surveillance by everybody.
Yeah.
And so it's really weird that the FBI can have this deep, secret counterintelligence program, but then when he gets killed, they are then put in charge of investigating it. Because who else is?
Yeah.
So
sure.
hopefully the agents who were investigating it had no idea about the counterintelligence program, but, who the fuck knows?
Yeah.
Because
I
all
mean,
the
this is
information
a-
still comes down from J. Edgar Hoover,
Yeah.
so...
This is the 60s, so my guess is that they weren't too great at covering it up.
Yeah.
Well, this isn't the CIA.
This isn't the CIA.
Yeah.
This is the FBI, yeah. They're... Never mind. They're slow sibling.
Yeah.
They came out with the cord around the neck for a little too long.
They got their head punched in a bunch as a baby from their older brother, the CIA.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That is exactly it. So this guy, Ray, James Earl Ray, gets on a flight to Atlanta. Up to this point, he's been driving everywhere. But he gets onto a flight, goes to Atlanta, takes a flight from there up to Toronto, where he was in Toronto within 3 days,
Jesus.
where he just hid around for about a month, and then he got a Canadian passport.
And he was like, I'm going to Mexico again.
Yeah, no, but he just stayed in Canada for a month and then got a passport under a fake name. It was so easy to get passports
Dude,
back
that
then.
shit was like, I know that Catch Me If You Can is not entirely accurate, but I know, it's based on a true story. That fraud shit was so easy.
My God.
Because what the fuck? Everything was paper file system.
Yeah.
What the fuck else
if you
is gonna happen?
if you had
Yeah.
a most
It's all
wanted
local.
guy, and let's say you're in Memphis, Tennessee, and you know he's going to Toronto, and you write a letter and send a picture,
He's
it'll
gonna-
get there
he's
after
gonna
he's there
land.
and left
Yeah, he's gonna land, have a fucking lease on an apartment
under a fake name.
Yeah,
Yeah.
God.
He's gonna steal the identity of a child who died at birth and steal their social security number, and he's gone.
That shit is so crazy. It wouldn't even be a real social security number. It'd just
No,
be like
probably not.
a bunch of fives. And
'Cause
they're
how
like,
do
you know that as he's applying, they're like, wow, your whole social is fives. And he's like,
That's
yeah,
crazy.
that's wild. They're like, I've never seen that before. Approved.
Yeah. Wow,
God
that's so unique. If you were
damn.
fake, you would have chosen a more convincing number. So stupid.
Oh, God.
So he used
It was
the
a simpler-
passport.
it was a simpler
Yeah,
time.
simpler time. Simpler, shittier time. So he used the passport to get onto a flight to England because his plan, go to South Africa, and he'll be set. So he got on the flight to England, and then he got arrested in an airport trying to go to Brussels
Okay.
because the name, Canada is a little bit more connected to the rest of the world compared to the United States. They had Interpol.
Oh.
So his fake name was on the kind of watch list.
Yeah.
So they arrested him on his way. He was trying to get to Angola, Rhodesia, or South Africa. Those were because they were all super racist.
Yeah. Yeah. He fit in perfect.
Exactly. So he was extradited to Tennessee. Good old Tennessee, justice. And he confessed to the murder because if he didn't, the death penalty was on the table. So he was like, oh, I'll just confess to it
Oh, God.
so that I don't get the death penalty. He was given 99 years in prison.
Okay.
3 days later, he fired his attorney and tried to recount his confession, which he was already charged.
Jesus
It was
Christ,
way
yeah.
too late. His new story is he met a man in Montreal in 1967, and his name was Raoul, and he was a blonde Cuban man.
Oh, my God.
And this guy, Raoul, the blonde Cuban, actually did the assassination, but that he, Ray was partially responsible, but he didn't know it. He didn't know that it was an assassination. He was just helping this guy, Raoul, out.
We had the same fingerprints. That's how we met.
Now, he then said, someone said that probably to his face, and then he said, no, I left my fingerprints on the gun on purpose because I wanted to be a famous criminal. I want to go down in the history books.
And so now he's saying, no, I didn't do it. How are you going to be a famous criminal?
Because he left the fingerprints because he knew the other guy would get away.
Oh, my
It's genius.
God. Yeah, that's a word for it.
He then said that he knew he would be able to escape the police in the investigation because he was so cunning and smart.
He said behind bars.
Yeah. He then said, oh no, he allowed himself to get caught because George Wallace would be the president soon and he'd get a pardon. George Wallace never became the president.
No, he was my favorite 40th president.
Yeah.
I swear, I promise.
He then, a couple of years later, I think it was a couple of years. No, it wasn't that long after. He escaped from prison
Oh,
with 6 other people for 3 days.
Ted Bundy was one of them.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So he got recaptured. Then he hired a guy named Kershaw to be his new attorney.
That's such a fucking lawyer name.
It really is. And so Kershaw pushed the conspiracy story of the blonde Cuban named Raul,
God.
who actually killed Martin Luther King Jr. And let me just double check and all this shit there. Let's see. So the United States House Select Committee on Assassinations conducted some ballistic tests because Kershaw said, oh, why don't you guys do some ballistic tests? See if the bullet actually came from the gun. It was officially inconclusive. They basically just said, yeah, the bullet came from a gun that was the exact gun that was used in the assassination. But we don't know if it was specifically that one, that model, or one of the thousands of them that were mass-produced that year, you know?
We don't know if it's the gun from the guy who admitted to doing the crime. We just know it's
That
a
model.
gun.
That
that's
model
that
of
model.
gun. Yeah.
That it could have been anybody else.
Yeah.
Fucking God.
So Kershaw
dude.
goes to James and says, "Hey, why don't we do an interview for Playboy?"
Oh God. What?
Yeah, 'cause
Playboy?
Playboy used to do all these interviews. They used to be very much news and like culture.
What?
And they would do articles on with leading physicists and shit. Like it used to be a big thing. I mean, they would still have women, but in between them, it was an attempt at like an intellectual gentleman's magazine where you're smart and you need to learn about who got the Nobel Prize in Physics this year while you're smoking a cigar and jerking off.
After you're having your post jerk cigar.
Yeah.
Which is actually the opposite of Hustler magazine, which released that thing about that lady fucking the dolphins in that old episode.
Oh yeah. But that was the time. That was the type of shit.
Same. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So
I didn't know they had like news.
Dude, they had some crazy shit. You could find so much like pseudo-intellectual bullshit in those.
I collect old Playboy magazines
For the articles.
for the historical accuracy.
Well, that used to be a joke. I think in like the 80s and 90s, it was, when somebody found their kids like Playboy, it was like, oh, I only have it for the articles.
I was just reading up on the communists in the 60s.
Yeah,
I swear to God,
yeah.
Mom.
It's crazy. I'm trying to find
my dick's hard for capitalism, I promise.
because I actually do have a small collection of like 40s and 50s nudie mags. I'm trying to get some really early Playboys,
Just gotta bust out.
but
the
they're
white
expensive.
gloves.
Oh yeah, we'll do a review. No, I have one that has an anti-Hitler ad in it.
Oh shit,
Super
that's cool.
But
let me see that.
yeah,
let me
for
see
the
it.
article,
Yeah, I just
for the
need it-
ad.
I just need it for like overnight. I'll just keep it overnight.
Yeah. It falls apart every time you touch it. You can't touch it.
I'm sure.
But
It's really
so
dry.
yeah, it really is for some reason. Crispy.
Yeah.
So Kershaw got James to do the interview. He gets there. They're doing the interview, asking him questions. He's saying, I didn't kill him, pushing the same story. And then he says, okay, here's the polygraph test you agreed to. And Kershaw's like, yeah, you have to do it. Like, do it. You got nothing to fear.
She's just leaning over the table. He's like, come on, just fucking do it. Just do it. Just
And,
do it, man."
nowadays we know totally inadmissible. It's very easy to fake it or to skew the results. But at the time period, it was very much like a smoking gun type thing.
Yeah.
And the magazine published the interview, which said that James Earl Ray killed King alone. That was the official answer to the polygraph test.
Mm-hmm.
Ray fired Kershaw because he also found out that Kershaw got $11,000 to do that, to get Ray to do the interview. Ray didn't get any of it.
You got played, you fucking idiot.
He's such a dumbass. He hired another attorney and didn't go anywhere.
I'm firing you. Okay, here's my fucking bill, stupid ass.
All right, now pay me another $11,000 or whatever. So obviously, this is the civil rights movement. King is a very prominent figure. He was known as, he was the most famous black man in America. He was the first famous black man in America. Was one of the,
one of the titles.
One of the titles. And so obviously, when he died, there were race riots like we've never seen in our lifetime. Like, across the United States, there were multiple cities that had a bunch of riots and protests and everything. The president at the time tried to call, like, local civil rights leaders to calm them down, but it's a white guy who's upholding an institution that they are actively fighting against, so it really didn't work that well.
If only the president had been George Wallace.
Yeah. Then they would have been executed.
God.
So we're going to jump forward a little bit. As we know, civil rights movement was largely a success, ended segregation, really paved the way for a lot of advancements that we still have a long way to go, but we definitely went a long way because of this, the civil rights movement. In 1997, King's son met Ray in prison and asked him to his face, "Did you kill my father?" James Earl Ray says no. King's son says, "I'm going to try to get you a new trial."
What?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but actually I do. I do have a theory on that, but
You're like, yeah, I don't know what's
later.
going on. Let me continue the story and tell you.
Yes. No, because more of my interpretation. So most of King's remaining family, including his wife, worked with James Earl Ray, met him, and tried to get him a trial.
Okay.
They, on their own, just did not believe that he killed him. Or if he did, he didn't do it alone. They basically said, there was one quote. I should have written it down. It was basically, how did this 10-cent white boy kill the $1 million black man? Like, how did
dipshit Magoo figure out how to do this on his own?
Yeah, with a history of mental illness, which, they weren't considering that at all.
That's fair.
But, with his history being a podunk hillbilly white boy who tried to film porn in Mexico and fell in love with a sex worker.
Like, imagine that fucking level of forgiveness.
Yeah.
Honestly, that level of
honestly,
compassion for someone else who killed your dad, effectively, slowed down the progression of the civil rights movement.
Well, in some cases, he actually sped it up.
It's sped up, but also
Definitely,
imagine how much better things would have been if
King
hadn't died.
Oh my God, I couldn't imagine.
It wouldn't. I
so
feel
much
like
further.
it would have gone further along. Sorry,
yeah.
not slowed, but I feel like
it
they got civil rights
That's
went through and everything, and then it petered off in a way.
Yeah,
not
no,
totally.
it definitely did.
But
it was kind of like we did it, and then let's be complacent for these other systemic issues.
That's your dad.
Yeah.
And 30 years later, you show up to the dude that fuck everybody was like, this guy killed him. He did it. He confessed to it, and you sit down and you're like, hey, I want you to get another trial. Holy shit.
It just shows that King taught his kids to be really good people. Like, as far as I know, I don't know anything about them besides this story. They could be assholes for all I know. But it really shows that the teachings that he really put forward a lot of everybody is human, everybody makes mistakes, and everybody can be changed. That level of forgiveness, insane.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Much more enlightened than me.
I had no idea. I didn't know that. Happened.
Yeah, and this isn't talked about a lot because there's a lot of... We're going to talk about it. There's a lot of controversy coming up. This is the meat and potatoes.
I would assume it hits borderline, not controversy, borderline conspiracy levels.
Borderline. No, it is.
Oh,
Full
it is.
Conspiracy.
Oh, okay.
So, In 1999, King's wife Coretta and their children filed a wrongful death suit against a man by the name of Lloyd Jowers.
Okay.
Jowers owned Jim's Cafe, which was just down the street from Lorraine Motel.
Oh, okay.
Lloyd had claimed on a TV show a couple of years before, because he was being interviewed about the assassination because he was so close,
Yeah.
that he had been paid $100,000 to arrange the assassination of King, to hire a hitman and get him dead.
Paid by who?
Didn't say initially.
Okay.
So they file this. It's a civil claim. They went to a civil court for this, which, yeah, I guess international audience. You have a criminal court, you got a civil court. Civil court is like you sue your neighbor,
Yeah.
and you aren't charged with a crime.
Yeah, you aren't
You're basically
charged.
just,
There you go.
yeah, you aren't charged. You are just forced to give money
Yeah. It's,
or restitution of some sort.
Yeah.
So it is not a criminal case, which is that is a very important detail. So Lloyd was charged by the jury for the conspiracy
to commemorate.
to, for basically the whole event, getting the $100,000, setting up the assassination.
More or less inciting the murder of
Yeah.
Martin Luther King Jr. Okay.
And they also stated that government agencies were also involved in the killing of King, and
they said that in the court?
in the court.
Like,
yeah,
wow.
that was part of it. And the jury, and Lloyd was ordered to pay the family $100. They were suing him for $100.
What?
The
What?
idea was, we're not doing it for the money, we're doing it for the justice.
Yeah, for like, hey, it's fucking confirmed kind of thing.
That's the idea.
Okay.
The problem is, it's a civil court. It was decided by 12 jurors, and in
Jury
a
of
civil
your
court,
peers, yeah.
there were 6 black people and 6 white people on the jury specifically.
That's
And there's an issue with the civil court. In a criminal court, I believe it says it must be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. In a civil court, it is a preponderance of evidence.
Okay.
Is the verbiage. Also, Lloyd wasn't questioned during this court case.
What?
He was never questioned under oath.
Damn.
So there's some shit going on, right?
Yeah.
So in 1998, the year before the trial officially concluded, the Attorney General ordered an entirely new investigation on the killing, and they put out a 150-page report in 2000. The Department of Justice basically said we can't find any evidence of an assassination, of a conspiracy, I should say.
Yeah.
And then Lloyd's sister would later come out and say that, he just came up with this story so that he could sell it. So he could just sell the story later. Yeah, he never testified under oath during the trial. The only time he was ever under oath and questioned about this, he contradicted his story. He also changed his story multiple times. The details of it. Originally he was, I got paid $100,000 for this. Later it was, I was holding the $100,000. Later it was, the $100,000 all went to the hitman. He kind of changed the story up a couple of times.
Wow, who the fuck would have thought that someone from Memphis, Tennessee couldn't keep their shit straight?
Yeah, crazy. There were some of the family members and stuff, and members of the group. He was part of this group that I talk about later. He was the president of it, called I think it's the SCLC. I have it down there. They actually did find that some of their members were on the government payroll. They were plants from the FBI. And that so this is my theory. Basically, they did discover that. There were plants from the FBI, obviously. I think the family obviously this is a terrible, terrible event, and they could not cognitively they could not comprehend how such an important person in such an important time could be killed by someone that does not match that. That's actually the basis of psychology for conspiracy theories. John Oliver talks about it, where he's like, you so badly want to think that the death of, what's her name? Princess Diana is orchestrated by a larger event, because the cause of death was so
Sudden instant, yeah.
and also so, like, how could Princess Diana be killed by something so menial? How could Martin Luther King Jr., such an important figure, be killed by this dude who was trying to shoot porn in Mexico? Like,
one doesn't equal the other. Like, obviously,
so,
somebody so smart, the only way that they would die is by something just fucking
equally
preposterous.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The impact of his death should, in our brains, our psychology says, oh, that feels wrong because the cause of the death should equal the repercussions of the
someone
death.
So good would have to be killed by someone so evil, not someone that's just an
asshole with a gun.
Idiot.
Yeah. And
turns out Princess Diana's death would have been prevented with just a fucking seatbelt. No, I have no idea.
Nice. Well, there goes our British audience.
Oh no.
No, but that's my theory, is that the reason they were trying to get him the new trial and everything, one, because he did confess and there wasn't much of a trial. Like, he just confessed and went away for it. So, one, I do think getting an actual trial, would have been important to lay out the facts. But they should have done it then.
Yeah.
And not
literally 30
the year
years
before he died.
Yeah. Jesus.
And I do think that they, like, if it was my family member, I'd probably do the same thing. I'd probably, no stone unturned. And that leads you to conspiracies, and that makes it very difficult to accept the reality. That's my theory.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they may have other things that we, don't know about for this. So now I'm going to talk about COINTELPRO.
Okay.
And almost done. It's a long episode, sorry. But I specifically, after learning all that stuff, because the thing that triggered it is you see it on the internet every once in a while. Oh, did you know Martin Luther King Jr.'s wife sued the government and for wrongful death, and they won? And that's the thing that goes around. And I'm like, there's got to be more to it than that. Like, why wouldn't... Oh, and then it's, it's not being reported on. It's being covered up. That's why you've never heard of it. Turns out it was a civil case on a guy who was definitely lying.
Yeah, and a guy that never went under oath.
Yeah. And they just said government agencies, which can be a street cop, NSA, CIA, FBI, Congress, like, it could be anything. Like, it was so vague. Basically, all the jury said through this case was, yeah, it's weird. Like, yeah, there was weird stuff going on, which we knew about by this point with COINTELPRO. But that doesn't mean they were trying to. If COINTELPRO wanted to kill Martin Luther King Jr., they would have done it 5 years before.
Yeah, that's fair.
Based on how many plants they had, how much
Before
money
he
they
would have
had.
fucking spoken in D.C.
Yeah.
Shit.
So the church committee, we've talked about the church committee before. They basically investigated a lot of the COINTELPRO, a lot of the FBI shit. They found that the FBI was creating a directed effort to neutralize Martin Luther King Jr. as a civil rights leader, as I spoke about in the beginning. Fall 1963, Robert F. Kennedy, Attorney General, I think. Yeah, Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy authorized the FBI to wiretap Martin Luther King Jr. Because of his association with a dude by the name of Stanley Levison. Stanley Levison had a connection to the USA Communist Party. So they were like, ooh, there's a connection there. That's enough reasonable doubt or whatever to justify the wiretap. The approval for the wiretapping was for a trial basis, maybe a month. J. Edgar Hoover said, trial basis maybe over a month. Rip.
Yeah. Today.
Unfettered access.
Yeah.
Do whatever you can to find any information. That
Jesus.
Completely unshackled his agents. So they started bugging his homes, his offices, hotel rooms, churches.
Jesus.
Like everything that he was connected to. Oh, SCLC. It's the Southern Christian Leadership Conference.
Oh, okay.
He was the president of. He actually classified that group as a hate group, which is really stupid because they were all about nonviolence. Like,
Jesus. Of course he did.
Yeah, because saying, oh, they're a hate group, you can do whatever you want with them, with your agents. Like, you can have them do whatever. He also said, no opportunity should be missed to exploit, through counterintelligence techniques, the organizational and personal conflict of the leaders of the groups to ensure the target group is disrupted, ridiculed, or discredited.
Okay.
Basically,
Yeah.
do whatever the fuck you want as long as you get dirt on them and we can discredit them entirely.
Jesus Christ.
That's a quote, by the way. The NSA was involved, which a lot of people didn't know the NSA was around during this time period. They've been doing shit for a long time.
Figures.
But they're so secretive. They kept it under wraps way better than the CIA and the FBI.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they had a secret operation called Operation Minaret, where they monitored leading Americans who were critical of the Vietnam War. A review of this program considered it to be extremely illegal. They had no repercussions for doing it. They were monitoring JFK. No. MLK. I have MLK down. So King.
Oh.
They were monitoring him because he was critical of the Vietnam War.
Jesus.
I love this. 1976. So years after all this, the FBI admitted that they never found any amounts of evidence that King or the SCLC were involved with any communist organizations. See, Levison had been part of the Communist Party. He left the party in 1955. Now, 8 years before they started the investigation.
Yeah. What the fuck?
And that was their in.
Yeah. Jesus.
That was their smoking gun. Hoover, there are many quotes by Hoover about Martin Luther King Jr. I suggest you read them if you're interested.
Yeah,
he says the
can't.
N-word a lot.
We're not going to be able to read them on here.
I have two here that I was able to find. And he said that King is the most notorious liar in the country. That's a perfect quote. He also said that he was knowingly, willingly, and regularly cooperating and taking guidance from the communists.
Jesus Christ.
Which in 1976, they completely said, well, we didn't have any evidence of that. He just kept saying that.
Yeah. I mean, the more you fucking
you repeat it until it's true.
Yeah, and I mean, he's in power, so
Exactly.
what the fuck else is anybody else below him going to do about it?
They can't do anything.
That's
he wouldn't even
insane.
let them ride in the elevator with him.
Yeah, J.
What an
Edgar was a
asshole.
fucking...
He was a sociopathic asshole.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
God, dude. Holy shit.
In walks the CIA. They start intercepting the mail of Martin Luther King Jr.
We have something we can slip into his water that will turn him into a communist.
Yeah. And so they start intercepting the mail of a bunch of different civil rights activists because communism.
Yeah.
Great. He probably never received mail that wasn't searched through or talked on a phone line that wasn't tapped. Like,
easily.
The CIA was all over that. So the FBI started doing what they do, and they're like, we got to find dirt on this guy. And this is the real, basically not the point, but the point that I wanted to get across in this episode. There's so many times that you can talk about somebody who's viewed as like a positive figure for history, like Mother Teresa. Awesome. She did a ton of great work for people in Africa. And then some asshole contrarian will say, oh, well, she actually helped spread the AIDS epidemic because she wouldn't allow for condoms. She would teach against them, not allow them in like humanitarian aid. I'm like, okay, and then it's like, oh, Gandhi
that's not the point that I was gonna
slept with his 12-year-old niece. I'm like, yeah, he did, in the same bed. There's
always
just
a
something for
caveat,
doubt.
yeah.
It's something that allows for doubt.
It's
and then
to
people
add
will throw that in.
Yeah, it's to discredit. That's
Exactly. It's
literally
like you're
all
talking
it
about the
is.
Holocaust.
Yeah.
And somebody will say, well, there weren't actually gas chambers at this specific camp.
Yeah.
So therefore, all of it should be thrown into doubt.
Yeah, it's like taking one tiny thing and saying because of that, it's all.
Is that the straw man?
Yeah.
clause?
Yes.
Is that what
yes,
that's
yes.
called? Yeah.
Yeah.
I fucking hate that. That's so
so
stupid and
fucking
such a dumb
ridiculous.
way to think. So
Well, it's also a really easy way to think.
Yeah, exactly. It's so easy to say, oh, well, they got this wrong. What else did they get wrong? Everything? Okay.
Yeah.
So the FBI started to push that kind of straw man argument. And what they decided to go for was that Martin Luther King Jr. was a cheater and a womanizer. Have you ever heard that?
I feel like I know, or I don't know, but I have heard it. I've heard the cheater side of it. But it was kind of the same thing. It's like, fuck off.
Yeah, exactly. That's how you should act about it, because a couple autobiographies of people near him came out. One guy was like, he was like, he was kind of, he became close to some women. And then when asked about it, they didn't have any evidence and they didn't have any details. And it was very like, they put it in so that their autobiography would sell because they're doing an autobiography and they're less known than Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think they were really just trying to sell more copies.
Yeah. I'm sorry to his wife that he might have cheated on her, but he made leaps and bounds in the fucking civil rights movement,
Well,
and it
I
doesn't
go into
fucking
it.
change it.
I honestly don't think he does. Like, his
No,
right-hand man even came out and was like, we talked about this many times about how sex outside of marriage is wrong and we would never do that, and I never saw anything even close to this. Like, there was one that I was reading where it was like he was aware of women, like, and he was aware that he drew women's attention, being, this huge figure, but he didn't act on it. He was faithful to his wife. One of them, it was one guy even said he went to as far as to say he never cheated on her. If he ever cheated on his wife, it was emotionally, because he was gone for so long and he needed a confidant or something like that. Like, that's the most that I could find, and even then, literally no evidence besides that guy saying it.
And it's not like he fucking cheated on his wife with J. Edgar Hoover. Like, for fuck's sakes, people. Like,
so, well, here's the thing. Even his wife is like, I've heard, his wife came out and said later that, I've heard everything about my husband doing everything wrong, and I don't believe any of it.
Yeah.
He was a minister. I believe that he was devout. I believe that he did not cheat on me.
God, when would he have had the fucking time?
Right? Like, seriously.
Jesus.
But I did find some more interesting stuff because the FBI started to. That's the angle. So they started to send like letters and reports to news reporters, partners, funding partners for the SCLC, his family.
And they
started just sending anonymous letters out.
This is 1970.
This is before he died.
Oh, before he died.
Yeah, this is during that 5 years that they said that. Sorry, I jump around a little bit.
No, you're good. You're good. I just was like, I thought it was post, and I was like, wait, what? Oh.
The FBI sent him multiple anonymous letters, one of which was designed to try to get him to commit suicide, which is great, where they sent him a tape with a letter that basically said, you have 34 days to end it. You know what you have to do. And they tried to write it like it was a black person writing the letter, because they tried to like throw in jargon from the time, and it just didn't. He immediately knew it was from the FBI. He literally came out and said, "This is from the FBI."
It's like that fucking scene out of Soul, or not Soul, fucking Airplane. Honey, here, I speak jive.
Like,
oh my God!
Oh no!
That was her. She wrote that fucking letter.
The letter was actually delivered. The package was delivered to his wife, hoping that she would just listen to the tape before reading the letter, because the tape had wiretaps that were, it's theorized, were doctored to make it sound like he was cheating on her.
What the fuck? And
those tapes were locked in the National Archives 1977 by order of a judge to be only, like, all of the wiretaps, all of the tapes, everything, to only be released in 2027. We're getting close.
Yeah, we're almost there.
In fact, this year, A Clown Who Cries, the archival footage, should be released from the National Archive.
Ooh.
If it does, when it does, we're going to watch it and do a show on it, because I've talked about that since we started. But, yeah, all of that information is locked away. So, really, we'll never know. I'm going to say I doubt it. I doubt that there's any real evidence, non-doctored evidence, that he cheated on his wife. Yeah. And even if he did, again, I think the positives that he put forth into society go well beyond those negatives. Like,
Jesus, yeah. I love that, like, that's the only thing they could get.
Yeah.
Like, and obviously,
no drugs,
1960s were a
yeah.
completely different time.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like, now, yeah, we hear about people cheating on their wives and significant others all the time, and it's a fucking meme. Back then, it was like a fucking social moray. But even then, it's still just like, that's all you think you can get on him.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's the best thing
you think
can
that's gonna
do.
take him
Fucking
down?
hell. Even, and when you really, really think about it, Martin Luther King, somebody who is doing everything in his power to, like, he knows he's being wiretapped. He knows that he's being watched. Like, he's obviously on every he's on every
watch list
newspaper.
everywhere.
He's in Playboy magazine with a shirt on, which is a way bigger deal.
Yeah.
He was so fucking well spoken. If you truly believe that he cheated on his wife, you're a fucking idiot.
Well, if you
Like-
think he cheated on his wife, okay. But if you think he got caught, he knew he was on watch lists. He knew he was being watched by everybody. Like, but then he's gonna go talk on the phone about how he just,
Yeah, like
Jump that
because
broad.
because he knows that they would have used that to fucking discredit him.
exactly. That's
And
that's
so
the part that
of
I'm like,
course
that's
the
so
FBI's like, "Oh shit, yeah, let's try this." Obviously it didn't work, but if it was fully confirmed, yeah, they have pictures of him like through the fucking hotel window having sex with this other lady. Yeah,
We would have if that picture existed, we would have seen it by now.
it would have discredited him at the time if it were true.
Yeah.
But clearly, like, they would have had real witnesses. They would have found the women that he slept with. They would have had them come
right.
forward.
No witnesses have come
Yeah.
forward, and no reputable witnesses.
And on top of
And
that, it's just like how.
Why would the judge have locked it away?
Yeah, the
if
guy
it
would
was-
not have been that
I
fucking
think the judge
stupid to
locked it
do
away because it would exonerate him.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
a good point.
let's push
yeah.
it further down the road, away from these court cases that are going on, away from these investigations,
Yeah.
so that I'll be dead by then.
Yeah, this bad boy will be locked up for 50 years, and then that'll be someone
No,
else's
he'll be dead.
problem.
I'll
Yeah.
be dead. Well, no, it'll exonerate King.
Yeah, no, I was
the
saying.
charges, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, well, the judge will be dead by then. All the agents who were involved in the campaign will be dead. Like, it'll be so disconnected that it'll say, "Oh, well, we couldn't find anything that's reliable, anything that's real."
It's just like
So,
such a stupid cop
so
out.
dumb.
Fucking,
It really is. So, last thing I found, 2019, a handwritten note, basically a sticky note on the front of an FBI file was found that said that King was witness to one of his friends raping a woman, and that he was laughing and like giving advice, and it, some fucking intellectual probably wrote a paper on it, and it exploded like, oh, controversy. And then everybody's like, this is the stupidest thing ever. You found a sticky note on the front of a file. The file has a tape in it. The tape is just of a party. Coretta, personally, his wife, listened to it and said, yeah, King's voice isn't on that at all. He wasn't even there. Like, he wasn't even there. And it's like, there were a couple dirty jokes. It was a wiretap of an event that he wasn't at. But on a sticky note on the front of it, it says he did this. And so
God,
that
dude.
intellectual guy, he basically lost his job and
Like-
funding because he said, oh, this is the evidence that proves it. And he didn't actually listen to it
off,
through.
yeah.
It's like, how... Oh, my God. How stupid.
like,
people are
imagine-
so ready to jump on controversy.
Imagine in 2019 trying to fucking discredit Martin Luther King, who brought fucking civil rights to the U.S.
Yeah.
Like, you're basically just coming out and being like, yeah, I'm fucking racist. What the
And then,
fuck?
so I love Snopes.
Uh-huh.
They're very well researched, and if there's something that I'm like, I don't know, the sources I'm finding are kind of wishy-washy, I'll go to Snopes.
Oh, okay.
And I just stumbled across. I was just checking to see if there was any other large controversy to throw in. One of them was, and there's just a bunch on Martin Luther King Jr.
Oh,
that
I'm
are all
sure.
disproved. Like, one is his "I Had a Dream" speech was
Plagiarized.
plagiarized, and it was like the only thing that's the same is a previous pastor also ended his speech with the same Bible verse.
Oh my god, dude.
Yeah, and there's so much dumb shit. There's also a picture of him in a hospital, and it's like, Does he look like he just got shot and he's going to die? This is proof he was smothered to death.
Man.
Like, bitch, that's when he got stabbed in the gut at a book reading or something.
Fucking QAnon. They're all so stupid.
Oh, my God. They're so dumb. So basically, all the evidence that we have right now, from what I've been able to find, is that there were a bunch of government agencies trying to slander him, and they are definitely not above creating evidence.
Yeah.
And he unfortunately was killed by a crazy skinny white dude who hated black people.
It's fair.
Like,
it's a very, very fucking
that's
fair point.
It sucks because I really wanted to get into this. Maybe there's this,
J.
maybe
Edgar did
there's this.
something.
My wife always makes fun of me for doing this, where I go into an episode
Expecting something big.
and no, just that I debunk the fun parts.
Ah, it works. I mean,
It works.
It's
That's
information. Like,
yeah.
it's the shit that people need to know.
Yeah, she listens to podcasts where they're like, "Ooh, maybe it could be this cryptid," and I'm like, "That was probably a dog."
You started off with a really wild story, and then you're just like, yeah, but the reality of the situation.
I know, but I think that's important. I think that's super important to, to basically outline that it's okay to speculate and gather research and evidence.
Yeah.
But you gotta be in reality.
But when the research and evidence is there, accept it.
Yeah, like you kind of have to. If more information is found, if 2027 comes around and more evidence comes out, we'll do an episode on it.
Huh.
Like, I'm okay being proven wrong, but up to now,
Yeah, up to this point, it's just a shitty circumstance.
Yeah.
Where we lost a fucking really good person.
yeah, exactly.
Damn.
Sorry, that went on for way too long.
How long?
Hour 10.
Oh, nice. Good stuff.
Too long. Sorry,
Yeah, good one.
I'm not sure. On my notes, I know how many pages,
Yeah.
but on this one, it's a new app.
Yeah, that's rough. Hey, I mean, that's a good one.
Yeah, not too
Dig it.
bad.
Thank you. You got we always fuck this up. We're supposed to do it at the start. Patreon.
Oh
If
yeah.
you would like to subscribe, we have a show every month, an additional exclusive show every month that we do.
Coming soon this month.
Yes.
It's mine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. AJ has his Voices series on there, which will be continued.
As soon as
we
school
have-
allows.
Yeah, no rush on that, but there's some good stuff up there. We have our Sloppy Seconds episodes, a little tour of the studio as well.
Bunch
If
of
you-
just extra random
Yeah.
stuff.
If you can support us. If you can't, no worries.
Yeah,
We
no
got some-
biggie, just
some
listen
low
in.
price tiers, but don't go broke trying to support us. We would just prefer that you just listen to the show. You got Patreon pulled up?
Yep. All right, of course, we've got the chair people, the board. Sorry, the board. Oh, that's the wrong page. The board, they make all the decisions, you know.
Hit refresh.
I did.
Okay. It's like I know we've got a new one on there.
All right, so we've got Mini D, Nordic Thunder, Toddle Waddle, and Weston. So thank you guys so much for,
Holy shit, thank you.
taking the stress off our backs, making all the decisions, and,
Yeah,
makes it easier to handle the 9 to 5 that is this podcast.
Yeah. And if you're new and still listening to this episode, it's because of these guys that we were able to find you.
Yeah, and then of course we've got Abby, AJ's third nut, Thomas, Dark Runner, D's nuts, and Laura Revo. Thank you guys too. Like, all of you guys are contributing and helping us, grow. That's the word. Grow is the word. I'm fucking tired.
You're good. We really appreciate you guys. And like I said, if you can support us, cool. If you cannot, don't worry about it. We'll still appreciate you for being here. And as always, if you have any show ideas or music, movies, TV shows, fucking whatever, you want to send some memes over, you just need somebody to talk to, by all means, reach out to us on Instagram at pointsOpressure, or feel free to email us at ppdnaj@gmail.com. We'll catch you guys next fucking Monday.